Oh, am I on? I said a little more. It's called Bella V. It's Aldi sparkling water. My wife thinks it doesn't taste good, but well, I like the price over bubbly. So there you have it. Yep, here I am on a video. Just your number one thing, how you like to see me. And I'm still on a jury. I'm actually got selected for a trial today. The trial started today on Thursday, and I don't know when it's going to end. It might end tomorrow. It might end Monday. Hopefully, by Monday would be great, or by tomorrow would be even better. But obviously, those are things they're out of my control, and so we'll just do another video here. It's really imperative that you pay attention. I think you know that. To fill in your study guides so you're prepared for our quizzes. I'm thinking we'll probably take both of our quizzes probably. Um, well, I don't know. It all depends upon when I know I'm done. So it could be next Monday. It could be next Tuesday. But you can be prepared to take an Act 3 through 5 quiz combined, all three together at once, and we'll do that. We'll do that when when I return. All right. So if we go into grammar here, obviously we have our grammar PowerPoints. You have access to these right through our materials. We have 38 sentences for this trimester. So your quiz, your test next your test next. Kristen, can you go check on Aiden, please? Your test next Wednesday is going to be 38 questions. It's worth 100 points. It starts with this one. I enjoyed a huge meal on Thanksgiving. I slept for 2 hours. I then watched football and relaxed. So it starts on 11:30, and it goes all the way up to what we did yesterday, either 224 or on 223. So I would encourage you to go through these. Make sure you can identify all the parts of speech. You're going to have 6 options on every one, either a noun, a verb, a pronoun, an adjective, an adverb, or a conjunction. So that's number one. Number two, we're gonna go through our study guide here. So for the substitute, if you can pause the video here in about 20 seconds and have the students pass out their Act 5 packet. It's on the center table. The students know where it's at. If someone can just kind of go around and pan those out, that'd be great. So let's pause it here. All right, should be unpaused now. So we're on Act 5 here. Get your pen ready. We'll go through our vocabulary, and we'll go from there. Our first one's ambiguity. When someone's ambiguous, it means that they're vague, they're unclear, they're not exact. It's open to one or more interpretations. And when that happens, usually people get pretty feisty. Peruse just means you read something really carefully. That's all it means. You read something carefully, you examine it carefully. So you either read it or you examine it. Remnants are the remaining amount of something. There's remnants on your table of crumbs after you have a graham cracker. Things like that. And then haughty just means that you're arrogant. Maybe you're a little prideful. I'd probably call you annoying, but that's not what the definition is. All right. And then the theme here, I kind of put it in for you here, the definition of it, a lesson learned from the story. There's a lot of them, all right? And I don't think you'd be wrong with what you pick, but we're going to get going here. So we'll be on Act 5 here. If you want to figure out what page you're on, I'll try and keep up with No Fear Shakespeare and process as we go, but we'll start. So Juliet here has drank the vial, right? Her parents have prepared for this wedding, and now they're preparing for her funeral, right? She's dead, and in 42 hours she's going to awake, and that's where we start. So one thing that Romeo asked his friend to do, his name was Balthasar, one of his servants. He said, if you can tell me if anything happens to Juliet. And so Juliet's dead. And so Balthasar, his servant for the Montagues here, he's going to come up to Mantua, and he's going to tell Romeo that Juliet's dead. Remember, the other thing we know is that Friar Lawrence had told him that he would send someone with messages if anything came up. And so it starts here in Romeo. He's talking about some dreams. And it starts, he says, if I can trust my dreams and something joyful news is coming soon, love rules my heart. And we know what that joyful news is. Balthasar is going to come and tell him that Juliet is dead. How can that be joyful news? Well, it isn't joyful news, but we know the joy in it, right? We know that she's not really dead, right? We know that her fake death is going to lead to him being joyous with his wife. But of course, he doesn't understand that, and it's going to lead to the end. So here we go. Scene Act 5.
If I may trust the flattering eye of sleep, my dreams presage some joyful news at hand. My bosom's lord sits lightly in his throne, and all this day an unaccustomed spirit lifts me above the ground with cheerful thoughts. I dreamt my lady came and found me dead. Strange dream that gives a dead man leave to think, and breathes such life with kisses in my lips that I revived and was an emperor. Ah me, how sweet is love itself possessed, when but love's shadows are so rich in joy. News from Verona, how now, Balthazar? Dost thou not bring me letters from the friar? How doth my lady? Is my father well? How fares my Juliet? That I ask again, for nothing can be ill if she be well.
Then so Balthazar shows up and, oh, you have news? What is it? Did you bring me a letter from Friar Lawrence? Because Friar Lawrence said he would respond in a letter. How's my wife? How's my dad? Tell me about Juliet. If she's doing great, I'm great as well. And Balthazar says, well, yeah, then she's great, but obviously that's not the truth.
She is well, and nothing can be ill. Her body sleeps in Capel's monument, and her immortal part with angels lives. I saw her laid low in her kindred's vault, and presently took post to tell it you. Oh, pardon me for bringing these ill news, since you did leave it from my office, sir.
So that first question, what news does Balthazar bring? He tells him here that Juliet's dead, right? He saw her laid low in her kindred's vault, and as he saw that, then he took off to tell Romeo.
Is it even so? Then I defy you, stars! Thou know'st my lodging. Get me ink and paper and hire post horses. I will hence tonight.
I do beseech you, sir.
All right, so Romeo here, he says, then I defy you, stars. All right, when he says that, when he's talking about stars, he's talking about these dreams, right? If I can trust my dreams, some good news is going to come, right? And the good news is that his wife is dead, right? But he says, well, I'm going to rebel against these dreams, right? So he says, I refuse to accept. I rebel against the stars, right? So he's rebelling against his dreams, and his plan is to go to Verona tonight to visit his dead wife.
Sir, have patience. Your looks are pale and wild, and do import some misadventure.
Tush! Thou art deceived. Leave me and do the thing I bid thee do. Hast thou no letters to me from the friar?
No, my good lord.
No matter. Get thee gone, and hire those horses. I'll be with thee straight. Well, Juliet, I will...
So Balthazar leaves, right? And now Romeo makes his plan here on what he's going to do to go see his wife tonight.
Lie with thee tonight. Let's see for means. Oh, mischief, thou art swift to enter in the thoughts of desperate men. I do remember an apothecary, and hereabouts he dwells, which late I noted. In tattered weeds, with overwhelming brows, culling of simples, meager were his looks. Sharp misery had worn him to the bones, and in his needy shop a tortoise hung, in alligator stuffed and other skins of ill-shaped fishes. And about his shelves, a beggarly account of empty boxes, green earthen pots, bladders, and musty seeds, remnants of packthread, and old cakes of roses were thinly scattered to make up a show. Noting this penury to myself, I said, and if a man did need a poison now whose sale is present death in Mantua, here lives a caitiff wretch would sell it him. Oh, this same thought did but forerun my need. And this same needy man must sell it me, as I remember this should be the house. Being holiday, the beggar's shop is shut. What ho! Apothecary!
So an apothecary is a pharmacist, right? So his plan is to rent horses to get to Verona, and he's going to buy some poison from this pharmacist. So the pharmacist, the apothecary, answers the door.
Who calls so loud? Come hither, man. I see that thou art poor. Hold, there is 40 ducats. Let me have a dram of poison, such soon speeding gear as will disperse itself through all the veins, that the life-weary taker may fall dead, and that the trunk may be discharged of breath as violently as hasty powder fired, doth hurry from the fatal cannon's womb. Such mortal drugs I have, but Mantua's law is death to any he that utters them. Art thou so bare and full of wretchedness, and fearst to die? Famine is in thy cheeks, need and oppression starveth in thine eyes. Contempt and beggary hangs upon thy back. The world is not thy friend, nor the world's law. The world affords no law to make thee rich. Then be not poor, but break it, and take this. My poverty, but not my will consents. I pay thy poverty, and not thy will. Put this in any liquid thing you will, and drink it off. And if you had the strength of 20 men, it would dispatch you straight. There is thy gold. Worse poison to men's souls, doing more murders in this loathsome world than these poor compounds that thou mayest not sell. I sell thee poison, thou hast sold me none. Farewell, buy food and get thyself in flesh. Come, cordial, and not poison, go with me to Juliet's grave, for there must I use thee.
All right. So that's the end, right? So his plan is he does three things. He's going to rent horses, to go see Juliet. He buys his poison. And his plan is to go to the tomb of the Capulets, and he's going to drink the poison, and he's going to die next to his wife. All right. So that's our three up there. We have some quotes here. The first one's Romeo's to himself. He says, "I had a dream that my lady came and found me dead." He thinks it's a good dream. Obviously, it's not. The second one, he says, "Even so, then I defy you, stars." Obviously, Romeo to himself, he says, "I refuse to accept." He rebels against his dreams there, right? He doesn't think that they're true. The third one's Romeo to himself again. Thank you, Good night. Love you. Excited my students are going. Say hi.
Bye.
Tell them your name.
Maddie.
Say hi, give me a hug. Good night. Sienna. I love you. Good night. What do you need to say goodbye to my students? No, you need to say goodbye to my students. Do I get a kiss on the cheek too? No? All right, I'm embarrassing her now. Oh, I get a kiss. I got a kiss on the forehead.
Oh my God.
That feels even better. Oh, now I got a kiss on the cheek. All right. I feel complete now. Thank you, Sienna. So this one, "O mischief, thou art, swift to enter the thoughts of desperate men." So this is Romeo again. He's talking to himself, and he says here, destructive thoughts come quickly when men are desperate, right? Desperate measures, desperate things, desperate times cause for desperate measures, right? So he's saying here, desperate thoughts are coming because he has desperate measures, right? And the last one, well, you don't have the last one there, so you're good. All right, so we're on to scene 2 now, and this is Friar Lawrence, and he's talking to Friar John, who is another priest, and they're talking about what's transpired here. So Friar Lawrence has asked Friar John to send a letter, or to bring a letter up to Romeo and Mantua. Well, there's a problem.
Holy Franciscan Friar, brother, ho!
This same should be the voice of Friar John. Welcome from Mantua. What says Romeo? Or if his mind be writ, give me his letter.
Oh, going to find a barefoot brother out, one of our order to associate me, here in this city visiting the sick and finding him. The searchers of the town, suspecting that we both were in a house where the infectious pestilence did reign, sealed up the doors and would not let us forth, so that my speed to Mantua there was stayed.
Who bear my...
All right, so the first question says, why couldn't West Friar John tell Friar Lawrence here? He tells him that he couldn't make it to Mantua. He was in a house where they thought the plague was, and they quarantined him. We can understand this because of COVID and whatnot, and being quarantined if you were a close contact. And in the early 1600s, this was the problem, right? So he wasn't able to make it to Mantua because he was quarantined.
My letter then to Romeo.
I could not send it. Here it is again. Nor get a messenger to bring it thee, so fearful were they of infection.
Unhappy fortune. By my brotherhood, that letter was not nice, but full of charge of dear import, and the neglecting it may do much danger. Friar John, go hence, get me an iron crow, and bring it straight unto my cell.
Brother, I'll go and bring it thee.
Now must I to the monument alone. Within this 3 hours will fair Juliet wake. She will beshrew me much that Romeo hath had no notice of these accidents, but I will write again to Mantua, and keep her at my cell till Romeo come. Poor living corpse, closed in a dead man's tomb.
All right, so his plan is to go break into, he's going to use this crowbar, right? What does Friar Lawrence intend to do? He wants to take this crowbar and he's going to go and break into the Capulets' tomb, right? That's the second question there. And why does he want to do that? He's going to take Juliet when she awakes, bring her to her cell, write another letter to Romeo telling him that she's hiding there so he can come down and pick her up. But again, Friar Lawrence doesn't know that Romeo is already on his way down, right? And he knows that. Excuse me. He knows that his wife is dead. All right, and that puts us on to scene 3 here. All right, so scene 3 is going to start, and we'll get going. So this starts at the Capulet's tomb. It starts, and there's Paris. He's with his little servant, and he's at the Capulet's tomb. And the reason why Paris is there is he's mourning his fiance. All right, he's there because he said that Romeo or that Juliet is dead, and he can't get married to her today because she's dead. Right, so he's there mourning the loss of his fiance, and he's brought her flowers. That's your first answer.
Give me thy torch, boy. Hence, and stand aloof. Yet put it out, for I would not be seen. Under yond yew tree lay thee all along, holding thine ear close to the hollow ground. So shall no foot upon the churchyard tread, being loose, unfirm with digging up of graves, but thou shalt hear it. Whistle then to me, as signal that thou hearest something approach. Give me those flowers. Do as I bid thee. Go.
I am almost afraid to stand.
So he's sitting there and he tells his little servant, he says, hey, go hide out. If you hear anyone whistle, let me know someone's coming. But I just want time alone so I can, pay respect to my fiance. The page says, I'm almost afraid to stand alone in the cemetery, but I'll take the risk. So Paris kneels and he scatters these flowers in front of Juliet's tomb, and he's just paying tribute to his fiance.
Stand alone here in the churchyard, yet I will adventure.
Sweet flower, with flowers thy bridal bed I strew. Oh, woe, thy canopy is dust and stones, which with sweet water nightly I will dew, or wanting that, with tears distilled by moans, the obsequies that I for thee will keep, nightly shall be to strew thy grave and weep.
Lots of whistling. Someone's coming.
The boy gives warning
Romeo.
something doth approach. What cursed foot wanders this way tonight to cross my obsequies and true love's right? What, with a torch? Muffle me, knight, a while.
Give me that mattock and the wrenching iron.
All right, so he sees this person riding up, 2 guys riding up with torches, and Paris goes and hides. So Romeo shows up. He's carrying a torch, a pickaxe, and an iron crowbar. He's going to break into the tomb because he wants to die next to his wife.
Hold, take this letter. Early in the morning, see thou deliver it to my lord and father. Give me the light. Upon thy life, I charge thee. Whate'er thou hearest or seest, stand all aloof, and do not interrupt me in my course. Why I descend into this bed of death is partly to behold my lady's face, but chiefly to take thence from her dead finger a precious ring, a ring that I must use in dear employment. Therefore hence be gone. But if thou, jealous, dost return to pry in what I further shall intend to do, by heaven I will tear thee joint by joint, and strew this hungry churchyard with thy limbs. The time and my intents are savage wild, more fierce and more inexorable, far than empty tigers or the roaring sea.
I will be gone, sir.
All right, so he tells Balthasar the 2 reasons why he's entering the tomb. Number 1, he wants to look at his lady's face one more time while it looks halfway decent. And the second reason, he wants to take a ring from her finger, right? The ring of her commitment. We obviously know that there's another reason why he's there. He's there to die next to her, right? But he tells Balthasar if he sticks around, he's like a tiger, who's who's hungry. He's like the raging sea. So Belisar says, "I'll go," and that's the way we show me friendship. Take this, and Belisar gets all the money from Romeo. Romeo doesn't need any money anymore, right?
And not trouble you.
So shalt thou show me friendship. Take thou that, live and be prosperous, and farewell, good fellow.
For all the same, I'll hide me hereabout. His looks I fear, and his intents I doubt.
Thou detestable.
All right, so Belisar, he tells him he's going to leave, but he doesn't leave. He hides out. He's worried. He's just playing. He goes and he hides, but he falls asleep. All right, he's tired. He's been up traveling all day, and he wanted to see what Romeo's going to do, but he falls asleep instead. So now Romeo's in front of the tomb, right, and he's talking to the tomb, right? He's the personification. Of course, why does Paris think that Romeo's there? Paris thinks that Romeo's there to like mess with Juliet, right? He thinks that that he's doing some villain work here, right? And so Paris gets annoyed. All right.
Ma, thou womb of death, gorged with the dearest morsel of the earth. Thus I enforce thy rotten jaws to open, and in despite I'll cram thee with more food.
This is that banished, haughty Montague that murdered my love's cousin, with which grief, it is supposed, the fair creature died. And here is come to do some villainous shame to the dead bodies. I will apprehend him.
So again, Paris thinks he's there to mess with the dead bodies.
Stop thy unhallowed toil, vile Montague! Can vengeance be pursued further than death? Condemned villain, I do apprehend thee. Obey and go with me, for thou must die.
I must indeed, and therefore came I hither. Good gentle youth, tempt not a desperate man. Fly hence and leave me, think upon these gone. Let them affright thee. I beseech thee, youth, put not another sin upon my head by urging me to fury. Oh, be gone! By heaven, I love thee better than myself, for I come hither armed against myself. Stay not, be gone. Live and hereafter say, a madman's mercy bid thee run away.
I do defy thy contrary.
So Romeo tells Paris, he says, "Dude, don't poke the bear tonight, right? I'm ticked off. I'm livid. I don't want to commit another crime, but if you mess with me, right, bad things are going to happen. Just live, get out of here, take a break from this, just get away from me, right? Because it's not going to be a happy ending if you stick around, right?" But Paris isn't going to let anyone break into his fiance's tomb, right? And so he's gonna step up to it and he's gonna step up to Romeo so that he steps up and they fight.
And apprehend thee for a felon here.
Wilt thou provoke me? Then have at thee, boy!
Some pretty intense fighting there. I think I'd find some other voices, but whatever. Romeo and Paris fight as they're fighting. The page sees this and he goes off to tell the police. And then Romeo and the Paris are still fighting, and Romeo kills Paris.
I am slain. If thou be merciful, open the tomb. Lay me with Juliet.
In faith, I will. Let me peruse this face. Mercutio's kinsman, noble County Paris. What said my man when my betossed soul did not attend him as we rode? I think he told me Paris should have married Juliet. Said he not so? Or did I dream it so? Or am I mad hearing him talk of Juliet to think it so? Oh, give me thy hand. One writ with me in sour misfortune's book. I'll bury thee in a triumphant grave.
So he goes down in the tomb now.
Oh, no, a lanthorn slaughtered youth, for here lies Juliet. And her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence full of light. Death, lie thou there, by a dead man interred. How oft, when men are at the point of death, have they been merry, which their keepers call a lightning before death. Oh, how may I call this a lightning? Oh, my love, my wife, death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath hath had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks, and death's pale flag is not advanced there. Tybalt, liest thou there in thy bloody sheet? Oh, what more favor can I do to thee than with that hand that cut thy youth in twain to sunder his that was thine enemy? Forgive me, cousin. Oh, dear Juliet, why art thou yet so fair? Shall I?
All right, so a couple things here. He brings Paris down to lay next to the Tybalt and Juliet. And he says here a couple things. He says that Juliet still looks beautiful, right? What is about Juliet that should have told Romeo that she was not dead? Well, he compares it to Tybalt. He goes, Tybalt, are you lying there in your bloody death shroud? Or what better favor can I do for you than to kill the man who killed you with the same hand that made you die young? So he talks about how kind of ugly Tybalt looks, and then he talks about how beautiful Juliet lives, right? Or Juliet is, right? And it shows that, that she's on her, that she's not dead, right? But of course, he doesn't know that.
Believe that unsubstantial death is amorous, and that the lean, abhorred monster keeps thee here in dark to be his paramour. For fear of that, I still will stay with thee, and never from this place of dim night depart again. Here will I remain, with worms that are thy chambermaids. Oh, here will I set up my everlasting rest, and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-weary flesh. Eyes, look your last. Arms, take your last embrace. And lips, oh you, the doors of breath, seal with a righteous kiss, a dateless bargain to engrossing death. Come, bitter conduct. Come, unsavory guide, thou desperate pilot, now at once run on the dashing rocks thy seasick weary bark. Here's to my love. Oh, true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus with a kiss.
So he dies next to his wife here. All right. There's no way to put it. He can't imagine living without her. It's an irrational thought. He's not thinking completely through it, but it's his thought, right? It's an unfortunate thought. I do think that thinking that if my wife were to die right now, to think how could I go on without her? And obviously, I think that there's that thought of like, I think my mom, when my dad died when he was 53, for the last almost 20 years now, my mom has been a widow, and it's been hard. I don't think she ever imagined that her husband would get cancer when he was 40. I don't think she ever anticipated that she'd be a widow at in her 50s. My parents will be celebrating their 50th anniversary next year, and they're not going to do that. And I think those are things that it's been hard on her. To think about living without my dad. And I think that she understands that there's more to live to. She has grandkids, right? She has her children. It's just that it's just for Romeo. He just doesn't see that. He loves his wife completely, and he can't imagine being without her. And it's something I think that I would fall into if my wife were to pass away. But I also know that there's more to it. That there's more to life, and that I have children that I'm responsible for, and to lead them, and to leave a legacy for my kids, so they could remember their mom. So I don't have anything else to tell you about it. Just know that it's a touchy subject, and just the last thing I'll tell you is that it's if you know of someone that's in these situations, to reach out to you can tell me, you can tell your counselor, you can tell one of our principals. Just know that we're here to support you and to get the help that you need, and I think it's important to talk about that too. So Romeo's passed away. Now, of course, Romeo dies, and then Friar Lawrence shows up. All right, and Friar Lawrence is there because he's there to take Juliet away, but he realizes real quick this problem is bigger than he anticipated.
I die.
St. Francis be my speed. How oft night have my old feet stumbled at graves. Who's there? Who is it that consorts so late the dead?
Here's one, a friend, and one that knows you well.
Bliss be upon you. Tell me, good my friend, what torch is yon that vainly lends his light to grubs and eyeless skulls? As I discern, it burneth in the Capel's monument.
It doth so, holy sir. And there's my master, one that you love.
Who is it?
Romeo.
How long hath he been there?
Full half an hour.
Go with me to the vault.
I dare not, sir. My master knows not, but I am gone hence, and fearfully did menace me with death if I did stay to look on his intents.
Stay then. I'll go alone. Fear comes upon me. How much I fear some ill unlucky thing.
As I did sleep under this yew tree here, I dreamt my master and another fought, and that my master slew him.
Romeo!
Alack, what blood is this which stains the stony entrance of this sepulchre? What mean these masterless and gory swords to lie discolored by this place of peace? Romeo, oh, pale. Who else? What, Paris too, and steeped in blood? What an unkind hour is guilty of this lamentable chance. The lady stirs.
Oh, comfortable friar, where is my lord? I do remember well where I should be, and there I am. Where is my Romeo?
All right, so he wants to get Juliet out of here, right? But there's noises coming from the outside. Remember that when the Paris and Romeo were fighting, the page went off to get the police, and now the police have shown up. And Friar Lawrence can't be around here, right? This is a bad place to be, as he's the priest, right? So he's going to leave here.
Noise. Lady, come from that nest of death, contagion, and unnatural sleep. A greater power than we can contradict hath thwarted our intents. Come away. Thy husband in thy bosom there lies dead, and Paris too. Come, I'll dispose of thee among a sisterhood of holy nuns. Stay not to question, for the watch is coming. Come, go, good Juliet. I dare no longer stay.
Go get the...
So why doesn't Friar Lawrence stay any longer? Because the police are coming, right? He can't be there anymore, right? Juliet doesn't care, though. If her husband's dead, she wants to die next to her husband, and she tells Friar Lawrence here, I'm not going anywhere.
Get thee hence, for I will not away. What's here? A cup, closed in my true love's hand. Poison, I see, hath been his timeless end. Oh, churl! Drunk all, and left no friendly drop to help me after? I will kiss thy lips. Haply some poison yet doth hang on them, to make me die with a restorative. Thy lips are warm.
So we know that she kisses his lips because she's trying to take some of the poison off of his lips so that she can die as well, but there's not enough. Now the police are there, Paris' servants back, and they're going back down in the Capulets' tomb.
Read, boy. Which way?
Yea, noise. Then I'll be brief. Oh, happy dagger. This is thy sheath.
So she kills herself with Romeo's knife here. You'll probably see that on your quiz. Why did Julia kiss Romeo, and then how does she die? It's not one of your questions, but you're going to see it. And she dies with Romeo's dagger, with his knife.
There rust, and let me die.
This is the place, there where the torch doth burn.
The ground is bloody. Search about the churchyard. Go, some of you, whoe'er you find, attach. Oh, pitiful sight. Here lies the county slain, and Juliet bleeding, warm and newly dead, who here hath lain this 2 days buried. Go, tell the prince. Run to the Capulets, raise up the Montagues, some others search. We see the ground whereon these woes do lie. But the true ground of all these piteous woes we cannot without circumstance descry.
Here's Romeo's man. We found him in the churchyard.
Hold him in safety till the prince come hither.
Here is a friar that trembles, sighs, and weeps. We took this mattock and this spade from him as he was coming from this churchyard side.
Great suspicion. Stay the friar too.
What misadventure is so early up that calls our person from our morning's rest? What should it be that they so shriek abroad?
The people in the street cry Romeo, some Juliet, and some Paris, and all run with open outcry toward our monument.
What fear is this which startles in our ears?
Sovereign, here lies the county Paris slain, and Romeo dead, and Juliet dead before, warm and new killed.
Search, seek, and know how this foul murder comes.
So here is a friar and slaughtered Romeo's man, with instruments upon them fit to open these dead men's tombs.
Oh, heaven! Oh, wife, look how our daughter bleeds. This dagger hath mista'en, for lo, his house is empty on the back of Montague, and it missheathed in my daughter's bosom.
Oh, me! This sight of death is as a bell that warns my old age to a sepulchre.
Come, Montague, for thou art early up to see thy son and heir more early down.
Alas, my liege, my wife is dead tonight. Grief of my son's exile hath stopped her breath. What further woe conspires against mine age?
Look,
So, Mr. Montague shows up, and the first thing he says is, "Hey, my wife died tonight. She stopped breathing because Romeo has been exiled." And he says, "What other pain do you have for me? Like, how worse can it get?" And Prince says, "Look and you'll see."
and thou shalt see.
O thou untaught! What manners is in this to press before thy father to a grave?
Seal up the mouth of
So he
outrage.
just says it's not right that, that a son should die before his dad, right? I know my grandma Carlson, she told me the last 20 years, like, it's so hard that her son died before she did. My grandma's 95, she's still living.
Rage for a while till we can clear these ambiguities and know their spring, their head, their true descent, and then will I be general to your woes and lead you even to death. Meantime, forbear and let mischance be slave to patience. Bring forth the parties of suspicion.
I am the greatest.
All right, here. So the prince says, "Bring forth the men under suspicion," and Friar Lawrence starts talking first. I think I missed the beginning part of it here. "I am the greatest, but I was able to do the least. I'm under the most suspicion because I was here at the time of this awful murder. And here I stand. You can question me and punish me. I've already condemned and excused myself." So he's already saying, like, he's at fault for what transpired here.
Make against me of this direful murder, and here I stand, both to impeach and purge myself condemned and myself excused.
Then say at once what thou dost know in this.
I will be.
So Friar Lawrence gives like a play-by-play of everything that transpired. He tells the truth. He talks about how he married him, how Juliet wanted Romeo, not Tybalt, how he pretty much tells it all. So just listen.
Will be brief, for my short date of breath is not so long as is a tedious tale. Romeo, there dead, was husband to that Juliet, and she, there dead, that Romeo's faithful wife. I married them, and their stolen marriage day was Tybalt's doomsday, whose untimely death banished the new-made bridegroom from this city. For whom, and not for Tybalt, Juliet pined. You, to remove that siege of grief from her, betrothed and would have married her perforce to County Paris. Then comes she to me, and with wild looks bid me devise some means to rid her from this second marriage, or in my cell there would she kill herself. Then gave I her, so tutored by my art, a sleeping potion, which so took effect as I intended, for it wrought on her the form of death. Meantime I writ to Romeo that he should hither come as this dire night to help to take her from her borrowed grave, being the time the potion's force should cease. But he which bore my letter, Friar John, was stayed by accident, and yesternight returned my letter back. Then all alone at the prefixed hour of her waking came I to take her from her kindred's vault, meaning to keep her closely at my cell till I conveniently could send to Romeo. But when I came, some minute ere the time of her awaking, here untimely lay the noble Paris and true Romeo dead. She wakes, and I entreated her come forth and bear this work of heaven with patience. But then a noise did scare me from the tomb, and she, too desperate, would not go with me, but as it seems did violence on herself. All this I know, and to the marriage her nurse is privy, and if aught in this miscarried by my fault, let my old life be sacrificed, some hour before his time, unto the rigor of severest law.
We still have known thee for...
All right. So he tells Blood. He says he married him. Juliet was crying for Romeo, not Tybalt. The Capulets tried to marry her off to Paris. She said she would have killed herself if I didn't help her. So I gave her a sleeping potion. I wrote to Romeo. Friar John couldn't deliver the letter because he was quarantined. I came to get her from the vault so I could get her off to Romeo at a later date. But when I showed up, Romeo and Paris were dead. The noise scared me, and Juliet wouldn't go with me. Obviously, she killed herself when I was gone. And the nurse can corroborate or whatever. The nurse can say the same story here.
For a holy man. Where's Romeo's man? What can he say in this?
I brought my master news of Juliet's death, and then in post he came from Mantua to this same place, to this same monument. This letter he early bid me give his father, and threatened me with death going in the vault, if I departed not, and left him there.
Give me the letter. I will look on it. Where is the county's page that raised the watch? Sirrah, what made your master in this place?
He came with flowers to strew his lady's grave, and bid me stand aloof, and so I did.
Yeah.
Anon comes one with light to ope the tomb, and by my master drew on him, and then I ran away to call the watch.
This letter doth make good the friar's words. Their course of love, the tidings of her death. And here he writes that he did buy a poison of a poor apothecary, and therewithal came to this vault to die and lie with Juliet. Where be these enemies? Capulet, Montague, see what a scourge is laid upon your hate, that heaven finds means to kill your joys with love. And I, for winking at your discords too, have lost a brace of kinsmen. All are punished. Oh, Brother Montague.
So he just says, he looks at this letter, and the letter just confirms what Friar Lawrence said, that Romeo and Juliet loved each other. They found out that she died, and it made him want to kill himself. And Friar Lawrence, the prince says here, he says, you see what you knuckleheads did? Your dumb feud, right? Because I looked away from your feud. I've lost several families of my family as well. We're all punished. No one wins in this situation. So many times we have these dumb arguments, and you think you're going to win, but no one wins, right? And I think it's a good point, to just settle your differences, to take the high road, to think of the opportunities you have. Easier said than done, but at least the stupid death of their children because of their dumb feud. And so Mr. Capulet and Mr. Montague talk to each other about what they're going to do for their son-in-law and their daughter-in-law.
You give me thy hand. This is my daughter's jointure, for no more can I demand.
But I can give thee more, for I will raise her statue in pure gold, that while Verona by that name is known, there shall no figure at such rate be set as that of true and faithful Juliet.
As rich shall Romeo's by his ladies lie. Poor sacrifices of our enmity. A glooming peace this morning with it brings. The sun for sorrow will not show his head. Go hence, to have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned, and some punished. For never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo.
So the plan there is that they're going to build statues of gold for each of their son-in-law and their daughter-in-law. Mr. Capulet's going to give Mr. Montague his dowry, the money he would give to the family as his daughter was being married. They're both going to build monuments of gold. And the prince says here, he says, there's never a story more full of pain than the story of Romeo and Juliet. Just sadness, absolutely. And I think that it's a point that needs to be said. Death is sad no matter what. You say someone dies young, only the good die young. Yes, I wouldn't say that. Someone dies, they don't need to suffer anymore. You think of all the good things, but there's sadness in death no matter what. No matter if you're 117 or you're a baby, there's sadness. There's a thought that you won't be able to see that person again. And it brings sadness whenever it happens. So let's go back to our study guide here. I answered all the questions here for the comprehension as we went through. Just a couple quotes here. The first one, dear Juliet, why do you look so fair? This is Romeo. He's talking to his dead Juliet here. And how can you be beautiful even when you're dead, right? The irony is that she's not dead. The next one's Juliet. She's talking to herself. She says, "Oh, happy dagger, this is thy sheath. There rest and let me die." So she's saying, her body's going to be the resting place with the knife. That's where she says, "I'm going to stab myself with Romeo's dagger." This is Friar Lawrence. He's talking to the prince, Mr. Montague, and Mr. Capulet, and he's telling the story, right? He says, he's telling the truth of what transpired. See what a scourge laid upon your hate, that heavens find means to kill your joys with love. This is the prince. He's talking to Mr. Montague and Mr. Capulet, and he just says that your stupid feud led to the death, of your kids. And the last one's obviously the prince talking to Mr. Montague and Mr. Capulet. And he says there's nothing more sad than the loss of people due to suicide. And so there you have it. So I'll play a little music here at the end, and we'll call it a day. Goodbye, students. I hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you hopefully on Monday. Bye-bye.